2020 was obviously a challenging year for everybody, um, to various degrees. We've all had our issues. Hopefully, for many, it's not been as bad as it might have been, but it's certainly been challenging. And as I mentioned in my post yesterday, as we move into 2021, on the face of it, it doesn't look like things are going to take too much of a dramatic change initially. Lockdown is still widespread and restrictions are still widespread. And so it paints a very different picture to what we'd normally be faced with as we move into a new year. And so that got me thinking about one of the kind of key things around New Year is people talk about New Year's resolutions, things that they're going to change, habits that they're going to adopt and bring into their life over the course of the coming 12 months. And usually that's born out of a desire for improvement. So normally people think about wanting to take on a new habit or a new hobby or exercise more or rejig how they eat, improve their diet, improve sleep, be better people, etc., etc. Again, because of the industry I work in, most of the time the resolutions that people come forth with are around exercise and diet primarily. They're the two key areas that people focus on trying to upgrade and improve when they move into a new year, which is great, all well and good. However, exercise, particularly this year, might be compromised because the idea of being able to join the gym, normally gym memberships go through the roof in January. Naturally, that's not going to happen this year because gyms are closed. And so we've got to think a little bit differently. The weather is not as good as it was when we were locked down previously back in the summer. And so the enthusiasm that normally accompanies people's ideas of New Year's resolutions, particularly around exercise, is probably going to be a little bit different this year. So there's two ways of looking at that one particularly. One, we think about alternative ways of getting our exercise in, which again, for anybody who follows social media, you're going to be inundated with, home exercise routines, basically the same as what we've had over the last 10 months of lockdown. So there's multiple options there, lots of variety, lots of choice. And I would encourage you, if you have got exercise goals for 2021, that you don't sit back and wait for gyms to open. You look at the options that are available to you now online with trainers and exercise classes and all the various platforms, and you subscribe, take the plunge and dive in. That being said, it may not suit everybody, and people may already be a little bit fatigued with that approach, given that we've been used to it and having to work with that over the last 10 to 12 months. And so, it might be that you're thinking, well, I really want to improve my health. I really want to feel a bit better. 2020's had it's taken a toll on me. It's I don't feel as good as I want to, but that obvious exercise card, if you like, is no longer available to me, or certainly not an easy one to jump into. So what are my choices? So I was having a chat to one of my clients yesterday morning actually about this, and it brought me kind of back around to the 12 Simple Habits ebook, which I hope you all have a copy of by now. And anybody who doesn't, as I mentioned yesterday, you can download it on the page here or just send me a direct message and I will send it straight to you. But yeah, the 12 Simple Habits ebook, which was written not with New Year's in mind or with resolutions in mind, but actually when I was having this conversation yesterday, it just struck me that actually maybe now more than ever the relevance of this book is quite apparent, because the habits that are in there are so simple, they're so easy to adapt and adopt into your life, that it makes the perfect almost menu, if you like, for choosing a New Year's resolution that can have quite a significant impact on how you feel in quite a quick way. So if I just use the analogy or the kind of typical example of the resolution of I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, there's quite a process involved in that. You've got to join the gym, or you've got to get your gear together, and you've got to start the process of going back to the gym physically 3 times a week and go through that whole process. Whereas with some of these habits now that are in the book, there's an opportunity there to just dive into one of them, pick it, decide that it's something that is in an area where you feel perhaps lacking. So you could be somebody who regularly exercise as it is. Maybe you have your diet dialed in and you're feeling that you pretty much got those things on point, but even with that, you still don't feel as good as you might. You still maybe wake up feeling a bit sluggish. You still lack a little bit of energy, a little bit of motivation, or a little bit of positivity, or you've noticed something physical that's not the way you'd like it to be, despite your exercise and your diet. And so there are other avenues and other areas that you can approach. And again, the book and the 12 habits in there provide a lot of choice across different parameters and across the 4 pillars of health and wellness that make up core four. So looking at other areas as opposed to just exercise and diet, you might be looking at some of the regenerative practices in there, like improving sleep, focusing on your gut microbiome, making that kind of a specific area as opposed to just improving my diet in general. So these are just some ideas. I do think it's a good opportunity for each of you to kind of pick one habit, post it, kind of commit to it, hold yourself accountable, and use the group to kind of hold yourself accountable. Post up that you're gonna mobilize your morning, or you're going to focus on your gut health, or you're going to focus on disconnecting from technology for the month, and just using the group to post up every day and say, I ticked my box today, or I ticked my box this week, or I've got some questions, or I'm struggling a little bit with this. Is there anybody out there who can help? And obviously I will be online to try and answer acute questions and direct questions for you guys as and when they pop up. But it would be really cool if we could get to the end of January and everybody could say that I've achieved something. I've set out for 31 days to mobilize my morning, or I've set out for the month of January to really feel like I've made a big impact in improving my sleep habits and my sleep hygiene. And at the end of the month, being able to say, I've done that. I just think that this is, without question, the single best thing that you can do, because I think it sets the tone for the whole day. The ability to just jump out of bed and crack on with your day is vitally important. It's something that I've always been very fortunate that I've been able to do. I wake up quite alert in the mornings, and I spring out of bed, and I kind of get moving as quickly as I can. And I do think that if you are somebody who tends to be a little bit sluggish in the morning and wake up feeling a little bit tired, and likes to hit the snooze button and stay in bed, it's a very common thing. And it can be coming from two places really. Number one, it can just be that it's habitual, and that rolling over, hitting the snooze button, and even setting your alarm clock to allow for a 10 or 15 minute snooze is part of your regime. Excuse me. And if that is the case, then that's quite easy to break. You just shift your habit. So instead of setting the alarm clock with a snooze in mind, you set the alarm clock with getting out of bed in mind, and you make that your primary objective. You initiate the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. Mel Robbins, I'll post about her book in there. It's the 5-second rule. It's a great book. And that's her thing really. I've kind of pinched that one, but the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown and action, when you decide you want to do something, either in a positive way or in a negative way. So if you want to move yourself away from a negative influence, or if you want to action something in a positive standpoint, deciding you're going to do it, counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pressing the go button is scientifically proven to activate the prefrontal cortex of your brain and actually help you initiate that movement or that action before you have a chance to actually talk yourself out of it. And the snooze button is one of the key things. It's one of the killers in terms of giving you that time to talk yourself out of getting out of bed and then actioning your day with whatever you had decided was the plan for the morning. So whether that was to do a stretch or go for a run or have a cold shower, whatever it was, as soon as you hit that snooze button, you slow the process down, you give yourself an opportunity to talk yourself out of getting on with it. So set the alarm for the exact time you want to get out of bed. Give yourself 10 minutes of time. That used to be snooze time, that's now action time. As soon as the alarm clock goes, you just count down and you jump. As soon as you physically start to move, then there's no going back. So you get yourself out of the bedroom as quick as you can, take yourself away from the drawer of the cozy bed, and get on with the day. Now, I have a whole host of little things that I like to do first thing in the morning, like a kind of a morning routine, which they all kind of feed into each other, and they all serve to kind of get the body and the mind ready for the day ahead. And so I kind of collectively call those things mobilize your morning. The stretch part of it, the physical stretch routine is critical, but also, as I said, get out of bed, get downstairs, drink water as quickly as you can. It's not necessarily scientifically proven that it has any huge health benefits, but it certainly makes you feel good. It helps to flush out the body. It definitely helps to initiate the metabolism and get that moving. It helps to make you feel like you're cleansing and starting off on a good foot. So water first, and then get moving. So either a 5-minute stretch protocol, it could be your warm-up from your normal exercise routine. It could be following my daily mobilization routine that I kind of do, and that's again just something that I've derived over years of practice. There's no right or wrong with this. It's just physically get moving. Equally, if you can get outside, you're also ticking other boxes. And I think I mentioned in the book before about habit stacking, and when we want to create good habits, how we can layer one on top of the other to kind of create this blueprint and this morning ritual or ritual at any time of day that helps to just layer good habits and good behaviors on top of each other, and these things compound one after another, one on top of the other, to kind of just make you feel good. So if you can get out of bed, drink water within 2 minutes, get outside in the fresh air to do your stretch. It doesn't matter if it's cold. If it's cold, it's even better because it will encourage you to move a little bit faster. It will help to, again, just stimulate the nerves, stimulate the mind, just freshen you up and get you fired up for the day. It'll also expose you to some light, increase your oxygen intake. And so you get all of this kind of compounding effect. And what's beautiful about that is, and getting outside early in the morning to do these things, is that one of the key elements, and this takes me back around full circle to why mobilizing your morning might be difficult, is that if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling sluggish, it may well be to do with your sleep quality. So that means it's another habit you could look at is how to improve your sleep hygiene. And that feeds into how you're then going to be able to mobilize your morning the next day. And one of the key things when it comes to improving your sleep is getting your circadian rhythm in gear and in line with your kind of your sleep wake cycle. And the best way to do that is to expose yourself to daylight as early as you can in the day, because that is the nature's way of waking us up internally, okay, and setting our clock in motion. So the sooner you can get yourself outside and expose yourself to bright light and daylight, the sooner you kind of switch the internal go button on your circadian clock. And what that will do is mean that at the right time of the day, at 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whatever it is, or as the sun goes down, you'll naturally start to feel tired. And then if you follow normal sleep hygiene protocol from there on in the evening time, that should set you up for a better night's sleep. And then that sets the tone for the next morning and how you feel the next day. So again, as I said, it's all about just cycling these things, layering them, and making one day work towards the next day. And that's what makes these habits, so easy to do, so easy and so quick to give you a response and make you feel good. Okay, just one thing on that when it comes to light exposure, because this is the one that somebody asked me this week. I always mention when I do my Mobilize my morning, and I post it on Instagram, I always mention about daylight. And often when I'm doing it, it might be just early in the day, the sun might not be up, or at this time of the year, obviously it's not necessarily that bright, or it could be a cloudy day like it is today. Even with that, it's important to note that even on a cloudy day, first thing in the morning or towards the end of the day as the sun's going down, you're still exposing your eyes to maybe 20 to 30 times the amount of light, or lux, which is the kind of measure of light exposure, than you will do in an internal room with the lights on. Okay, so it might seem like, well, it's dull and it's dark outside, so I'm not really getting my sunlight. You might not be getting the full vitamin D kick that you'll get on a sunny summer's day, but just being outside, even on a dull day, because of the broad spectrum of the light, means that you are drawing much more light into your body than you will even in an artificially lit room. So I would encourage you to get outside for 5 minutes at the start of the day, absorb all that light in through your eyes, into your body, switch on the circadian clock, set you up for the day ahead, and more importantly, set you up for the night that's to come. Are you trying to get control of the snacking scenario, the picking scenario, where you have no control over the calories and your calories are mounting over the course of the day? And it's a very common issue with weight gain and people who are trying to lose weight, is that this constant picking becomes something that they're unaware of, and it makes tracking your calories very difficult, which in turn can mean that your intake of calories can run away with you, and maintaining an energy balance or getting into a calorie deficit can become difficult to achieve. So obviously snacking is something that or having snacks in the day is something that people either do or don't do, and that's not it's not an indication of a good meal plan or a bad meal plan. Most meal plans have snacks built in, kind of mid-morning, mid-afternoon snacks built in to kind of structured snacks to stop you from picking. So picking being the thing that you want to speak about, I think I've just answered it inadvertently. The best way to stop picking is to make sure that you have structured snacks built into your day. So if you struggle to kind of get from breakfast to lunch, or from lunch to dinner, because the window is too big and you feel yourself getting hungry, and because of that you're reaching and you're picking and you're filling yourself up without really thinking about or being able to control what you're eating or the volume of what you're eating, then there's two ways you can do it. Number one, look at what you're eating in your big meals and see, is there a way that you can address the content of that food, change the constituents of that food to try and make it more filling so that the meal kind of gets you through towards the next meal without that feeling of hunger in between. Or alternatively, or add in or structure in two healthy snacks into those windows. Again, what you're trying to do is stop yourself being in that scenario of being hungry between meals. And one of the key things with this is planning or forward thinking. So, at the end of the day or the start of the week, however you typically tend to plan your meals, always make sure that you look at the meal, look at breakfast and think, well, if I'm having eggs and avocado, that's, a good meal, it's got protein, it's got good quality fats, it's typically quite a filling meal. That should get me through to lunch if that fits with your normal eating plan of breakfast, lunch, dinner and two snacks. If you're somebody who fasts or likes to kind of fast in the morning, maybe skip breakfast a couple of days and try to make it through to lunch. Again, it's really important that you do that in a way that's going to be successful and set you up for success. You don't want to skip breakfast and then find yourself at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning hungry and not with a plan and not with a snack ready, and end up then picking at biscuits and crisps and the kids' plates, because that's, again, these are the little things that accumulate over the course of a day and over the course of the week, and these are the calories, and they typically tend to be sugary, complex carbohydrates that we reach for when we're picking and snacking. And these are the things that, if weight gain or weight loss is a factor or something that you're trying to achieve, these are the things that will derail you over time. So it's really important that you think about the structure of your meals in the day ahead, planning your meals out the night before, and including structured snacks into that meal plan will really help. And I've got loads of ideas on healthy snacks. The recipe books that I've posted up in the Core 4 page all come with healthy snacks. And like I said before, what I want to use this page for is for you to come forward and ask some specific questions so that I can direct you to snacks that are specific with your goals in mind, keep you on the right track, and make sure that you kind of bridge those gaps between meals without then finding yourself picking. Light is light fundamentally, and we need light, and any amount of light will help to waken you up relative to no light. So as you move on the spectrum of dark to light, however that light is derived, will help to waken the body and stimulate the body and increase kind of cortisol within the body and kind of bring the body out of sleep state. So yeah, the brighter the light that you can create in an internal environment, the better. There are actually specific daylights that you can buy. You'll probably find them on Amazon that are particularly white bright light there. I think they originally came out to treat seasonal acquired deficiency, SADS. If you Google that, you'll find light boxes that you can buy, and if you put these things on, they will flood the room that you're in with really, really bright light and help to give that waking effect and that have that same impact as natural light. But as I said, as soon as it gets bright, get outside. So even if you've mobilized your morning, you're now at your desk, presumably if you're working from home and you've started your day, as soon as the daylight comes, you'll still benefit from just stepping outside. So your next phone call, your next meeting, even if you're taking a coffee break, take the coffee outside, wrap up, sit outside. It doesn't matter that it's cold. Cold is good. Also helps to stimulate the body and stimulate the mind. So get outside as quickly as you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be when you're doing your morning stretch. And just very quickly on that, because it does tie in with your sleep cycle, and your sleep cycle ties in with your ability to get up and feel good to mobilize your morning. The opposite, seasonal affected disorder, thank you, David. The opposite is true. As you get to the back end of the day, you want to be trying to reduce light and your exposure to light, because we want to be then starting to try and increase melatonin production within the body and set yourself up for sleep. And obviously light is stimulating, so we want to start bringing the lights down. So kind of as it gets dark outside, you want to think about the level of lighting that you have indoors, and appreciate there's logistical circumstances why you may have to have lights brighter than ideal, but as you start to get close to bedtime, you're starting thinking about bedtime. So for example, if you want to be asleep by 10, from about 8 o'clock onwards, start to dim the lights that you have on in the house. Start to think about turning off screens. Again, multiple reasons why that's beneficial, both in terms of mental stimulation from what you're watching, blue light exposure, but also again, it just it's just exposing your eyes to more light, which is keeping you awake on multiple levels, both in terms of, as I said, mental stimulation, but also it's suppressing your natural melatonin production, and that is going to impact your ability to go asleep when the time comes. So again, goes back to just layering these habits one by one on top, and trying to set yourself up for better sleep and then better waking. If you've kind of fallen off the wagon with mobilizing your morning, then perfect. Make that your January intention, because as I've mentioned before, in terms of just one single thing, the way it sets you up for the rest of the day, and how that then impacts the rest of your life is, for me, is massive. So I would make that, Damien, I would make that a critical thing to do for January. If you're starting a bit earlier in the morning, fine, just set your alarm clock 10 or 15 minutes earlier. And then again, on the flip side, get to bed a bit earlier. Ultimately, as long as you're getting adequate sleep, doesn't matter what time you go to bed, okay, and what time you wake up. So kind of almost reverse engineer the process. Think, I've got to be up at 5 o'clock because I now start work at 6, or whatever it may be. So now I've got to get up at 10 to 5 if I want to get that Mobilize my morning process in. So instead of going to bed at 9:45 or 10 p.m, I'll go to bed at 9:30. It's just about using, this is the same 24 hours. The clock is 24 hours, the day is 24 hours. It's just how you maneuver your day and the structure of your day within that 24-hour cycle. And that then is reflected with your internal clock, circadian cycle. So just, maneuvering things as you need to would be the biggest factor there. And making it an intention to get back on the wagon of anything. You just have to intentionally decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this my priority for the next couple of days, and I'm going to do all that I can to lay the groundwork in place so that I'm successful at achieving that. And as you know, once these things happen 2 or 3 or 4 mornings in a row and you start to feel that positive impact, they normally sit in and become habitual. And then naturally, as with all habits, when something kind of outside of your control or in your external environment changes, like your work time, it might then have an impact. You just have to adjust the clock accordingly if you want to maintain and keep it in the plan. It depends, and again, that's going to be a common answer in a lot of these scenarios, because it all depends on your areas. What I always recommend for people is, number one, when you're mobilizing your morning, is just get your body moving. Number two, if you've got any specific areas of tightness, use the time to address those. If you want to ask me about any particular areas that are relevant to you, then again, pop a comment in, let me know, and I can put some specific stretches on here. I'll record some videos and pop some specific stretches on here for your needs, and then you can build those into your morning routine. Because as we said, this idea of having a 5 to 10 minute stretch or activity phase first thing in the morning it's multi-purpose. The idea is to activate the body, activate the mind, create that mind-body connection, set you up for the day. But equally, if you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes moving, you might as well get some physiological benefit from it too, or some kind of biomechanical benefit from it too, and it may as well address specific areas of tightness or weakness that you may have. So the answer to the question is yes, you can add specifics in there, and yes, I do have specifics, but I would need to know what the area you want to affect is, and then I can post some particular stretches for you depending on what your objective is. So all of the things that we want to do, and this comes full circle back around to resolutions in general. It should be outcome based. What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve with a resolution? Okay, if you decide for your New Year's resolution you want to be a non-smoker, or you want to be a non-drinker, then the outcome you're trying to achieve is not smoking or not drinking or not snacking, or stretching or moving your body for 5 to 10 minutes every morning. So find the outcome, address the outcome, make the outcome clear in your mind, and then we reverse engineer how you get there. So in terms of mobilizing your morning, does it have to be stretches? No, it doesn't have to be stretches. It can be anything. You can jump out of bed and do jump jacks, and you will get a positive impact of that, because you will increase your heart rate, you will increase your body temperature, you will stimulate the central nervous system, you will waken yourself up. It's going to be hard to do jump jacks and fall asleep. So you will get lots and lots of benefits. But will you loosen off tight hips by doing jump jacks straight out of bed? Probably not. Will you loosen out your thoracic spine by doing jump jacks straight out of bed? Probably not. But again, it depends on what your outcome is. So something like World's Greatest Stretch, that's kind of why I use that one particularly, is because for me, that addresses two outcomes. It actually loosens off all of the areas that I feel tight in when I wake up, my hips, my shoulders, my thoracic spine. And also it serves to have those other impacts that doing 20 jump jacks might have. It elevates my heart rate, it stimulates my central nervous system, it connects the mind and body, it brings my heart rate up and gets my respiratory circuit system into gear as well. So that's why. So again, in simple answer, no, it doesn't have to be stretches, but why not incorporate a few, do a few jump jacks at the end, do some squats, whatever you want. It really is your practice, and it's very much down to you. And as I've said, I can help you formulate a practice specific for you if you want. Just hit some questions in the boxes again. Tell me exactly what you want to get out of your 10 minutes, and I'll formulate a little 10-minute routine for you that's specific to you. In the meantime, have a look at the video that I've posted on this page previously, which is my routine, which includes some cars, controlled articular rotations, and a world's greatest stretch. And ping some jump jacks onto the end and you should be good to go. It's a nuts time of year at the best of times, and this year it's more nuts than ever because there's so many variables. But I do think it's such an important time for you to prioritize your health and your wellness. You know, there's never a time not to do it, but if ever there is a time to really focus on it, it's now. One of the things that doesn't get touched upon a lot within kind of media and across social media, you know, we hear all the time about how to stay safe, how to avoid getting infected with coronavirus or anything else for that matter. But something that's, you know, very important to me is not just trying to avoid getting the infection, but actually dealing with putting yourself in a position that you're best placed to deal with it should you catch it. And so thinking about your health, thinking about your immunity is critically important at this time. So that should you catch the virus, should you be exposed to it, you know, your immune system is on point to be able to deal with it. That's really, really important. So it's not just about how do we not catch it, it's about how do we deal with it should we catch it, how do we best position ourselves to do so. And all of the habits in the book and all of the principles that we talk about in terms of health and wellness, you know, are designed to optimize the body, optimize the mind also, but ultimately optimize the body to be fit, strong, healthy, to have the immune system on point, to be able to deal with pathogens and antigens and all sorts of intruders and problems that we're faced with on a daily basis. And coronavirus is no different in that respect. So think about January, see it as a time where there's a lot of uncontrollables. There's a lot of things that we can't control. We can't control, sadly, when our kids go back to school. You know, we can't control the demands that work puts on us. There's going to be a lot of stresses that are coming our way. I do firmly believe that 2 or 3 months down the line, we're going to be in a much better position. And I think what we should look at is January is an opportunity to grow. Okay, we expose ourselves to the stresses that are going to be put on us. And through that exposure, we're going to grow, we're going to develop both physically and mentally to be able to really enjoy the rest of the year. So rather than getting down in the dumps about January, the crap weather, the cold, the dark, coronavirus, kids at home, all of those things, let's kind of just flip it in our mind, see it as a challenge, see it as a way of putting us under stress, and let's put some habits in place that are going to help us come out the other side of this stronger, fitter, healthier, happier, and ready to really enjoy 2021 when we get the opportunity to do so.